Hey, we are live streaming. Woo! We have Bethany joining us. This is fun. I've got a bunch of screens open. There we go. Hi. Hello, hello.
Hey, how are you?
So good. Oh my goodness. I'm just typing in the chat what's happening.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Let's see if I can find your face. What a whirlwind today has been. Whew.
Yeah, but it's been fun.
Yes, definitely. Well, hello to everyone watching. This is Living the Relational Revolution with Bethany Boring, adapting and changing and implementing the rhythms of attention in mental health settings and in childcare, children's situations as well. So, hello and welcome.
Hello. So good to see you, Hillary. I love hanging out with you.
Oh, thank you. I think we're live on Instagram and I think we're live on Facebook. I am going to try to put us in gallery view so that way people on Instagram can actually see our faces and not the corners of our screens. So let us know if you can see us better anywhere. But oh, right. So why don't we start off with a check-in as we normally do, and then we'll get started with some questions.
Sounds good.
I think I'm checking in with lots of energy, excitement. There's probably like a low grade critical part of me that's like, this isn't working. That could be, but it's just like a very low grade. And I'm pretty proud that that's not spiking higher than it normally does. So lots of energy, excitement, a little bit of criticism popping up, and absolutely thrilled to be chatting with you. It's been a while since we've been face to face.
It has. So can I ask a curious question?
Of course.
So when you say that you're excited, like what does that feel like to you? Do you notice something like in your body when you're excited?
Yeah. So normally I can tell in my heart rate increases a little bit. And then I can't focus too much on anything else other than like what I'm excited about. So heart, and then my toes are probably cold when I'm excited as well, because I think all the excitement comes up here in the energy. But I don't know if that's related or if I just need to put.
I love that though. Now I'm gonna have to check my toes. I mean, seriously, like that. I love that. That is such deep awareness. So okay. That's great. Well, I am checking in as honestly, I'm a little frazzled because I've been jumping from project today, and I've been sneaking in watching this live. So it's been hard. It's like all of my attention has been on here, but I've been doing like a little background work, but it's been good. And of course, oh my goodness, I'm excited to be here. Like I've been counting down, like I purposely stopped my last project. I'm like, oh no, we're gonna get set up. I'm so excited. I'm just waiting. And so and I'm feeling that like I'm feeling my heart rate go up. I'm feeling my brain just focused on here. I'm not sure about my toes. Let's see. Yeah, you know what? My toes are cold. So maybe you're onto something there, Hillary. I'm just saying.
Well, awesome. Thank you. You said you've been frazzled back and forth, everything. Is there anything you need right now to be here and ready for our interview?
Oh, I am ready. No, I have prepared. I've taken time to be aware with myself before I got on here, and I am like all in. I am ready to go.
Awesome. Well, I guess the first question, if you don't mind me asking, is when you discovered Loop 10 and you started to, practice and play with the rhythms, How long after did you decide that you wanted to bring this in with the children's program at the church? Like what was that
Yes.
like?
That's such a cool story. So I'm trying to think. So when I first found Luke 10, I was going through a lot of different things. I was going through mainly divorce at the time. And it was such a crazy time. It's not like I was looking for anything. And the way Luke 10 came for us is that I heard a gentleman, Mike, speak about it in the church. And going back and listening to that sermon, he only mentioned like Luke 10 like a little bit. And for some reason, I thought the whole entire message was about that. I queued in. I'm like, I am checking out this Luke 10 thing. So I checked it out. And then I remember as I was practicing the rhythms, just feeling like this isn't just something that like this is more than just something I want to be involved in. It's something that I really want to apply at a deeper level, not only to myself, not only to my family, but I had this dream like, okay, God, I know you want me to introduce this to other people, but you can't be like, hey, you have to very much like praying, okay, God, I know this is my harvest field. I might not be the worker. Show me how to do this. And so I slowly started rolling out, checking in and getting curious with my boys. And I have 3 boys, ages 10. And y'all, I'm trying to think. Hold on. Get this right.
Ages are hard.
So old. It's crazy. So 10, almost 13, and 15.
Wow.
And so yeah, and at the time they were like, what, 3 or 4 years younger than that. And so they were having one day where they were like fighting like crazy. And I was like, y'all, we're going to try something mommy's been learning about. And I sat them all there. I'm like, we're going to try to check in. And I said, so I need to stop. And I was like, and I'm checking it as, and I was angry and I was frustrated and I was sad. And the more I started speaking, I realized I'm like, wow. Like, and I saw their faces just stop. And for the first time, I think we actually saw each other.
Wow.
Like we've been living together and we've been living through all of this craziness, but we didn't know how to like check in. We didn't know how to communicate. And once we started practicing those rhythms together, the boys started realizing, well, here at church, like kids are coming from totally different, atmospheres and home lives and just the rush and school and everything. Nobody's checking in with them. Why can't we do that? And I'm like, well, so we introduced it to our adult leaders first.
Okay.
They didn't get it.
Okay.
And so we did it with the students. And I was like, and my kids literally got to teach the other student leaders how to do it. And they were just like, this is amazing. And so it ended up being the students got to really teach the adults how to check in and how to be real and how to be present. And it flipped everything on the head. And I loved it. It was messy and unpredictable. And everybody else was like, and I was like, this is so awesome. And so, but yeah, so it was a process. It was a process.
There's so much coming from that story that I didn't know. Thank you. So what I hear you saying is when you did it with your children, they felt it and said it, and they were like, we need to do this at church.
Yes.
And you followed and helped them facilitate bringing this to their peers and their friends.
Yeah, because they mentioned it, but here's the thing too. We had these small groups. You guys, y'all know, if y'all are out there and you watch this, and Hillary, I know you know because you work with kids too and you love them. But like when small groups and you get everybody together, it's just like adults, like you have that weird moment where you're just like, I don't know how to connect deeper. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's just get past all the monkeys in the room and get to the reality that there's bananas on the table. You know what I'm saying? Like, how do you do that? And this was a way of cutting across and treating them like young adults, like they are. Honestly, they are. They're so much more tuned into things than I think adults give them credit for. And so my kids were like, Mom, checking in is like the easiest way of doing it. And they wanted to do it. And so I think that was the combination between like, if adults realize the importance of it, then we can show that to our kids. So what we see is important, they're going to want to invest time into too as well. And so it wasn't me like selling something. It was like, no, they saw how this worked with our family. They saw how we connected and they wanted that for their church friends and they knew we could do more. And so, yeah.
Thank you, man. Your kids are awesome. All right. So that was the first time that like, all right, we're sitting down. I'm angry. How do you feel? That was the first time. What's it like now checking in at the boarding household?
I love that. Okay, I'm sorry. I can't laugh. I think that's cracking me up with the boards. Yes. Okay, sorry. So sorry, I have a little bit of energy going through my system right now.
Mhm.
So yeah, so normally what check-in looks like at our house is we still have this idea of Oreos, which is almost it's gotten out now. That word has gotten out. So we'll have people like at the church or just people that we know in our area will drop by and give us Oreos because they know that's what we do, which is great. So they get out Oreos. We usually get some milk and we just check in. And sometimes that's like, Mom, I'm feeling like, and we're like, we got to do it. Like, is that mad? Or is that like excited? I'm like, when I'm doing that, I kind of feel mad. Is that kind of what you're feeling? And you kind of get a guess because you're like forming, because sometimes they do stuff and I'm like, I never thought about it that way, but it does, and it's like, oh my goodness. And so I just love it. I love it. So sometimes we just do that. Sometimes we do emoji check-ins because they're into that stuff. Sometimes we do like, they teach me a new word. It's not called slang anymore. What's it called? Do you know, Hillary, what the new term is now for all these new words that they make
I
up?
have no idea. I know we're slang. This is new information to me. No, I have no idea. Drop it in the chat if you know what the alternative word
that's what
for
it is.
slang
It's not
is.
slang anymore. There is a new word for this, and my boys are gonna crack up later because I can't remember it. But they teach me these new words. And Mom, it feels like, and they'll drop this word. I'm like, okay, what does it mean?
Yeah.
So it's educating their mom. So we do different ways. It's not just the normal rounds of checking in like we do. We do that too. And normally when they're wanting to do that, somebody already knows that they have a heavy check-in. And so it's just very interesting because like we just go there naturally and we're ready rather than the whole, other things. And it's just, I don't know, you don't have to use words. Like I think you get so good with checking in and attuning with other people when you don't have to use words.
So what you were describing in the beginning for those watching was the nonverbal check-in, and that like can be a check-in all in of itself, or however your nonverbal expression is facing. And then you said when they want to do it a different way, when they don't just want to talk about it, that's normally when there's something heavy. You're saying that kids have heavy emotions and they want to bring it to their mom and talk about it with their mom and their siblings. Tell me more. What is that?
Yes, right. Well, I'll be honest with you. Right before I connected with Luke 10, I read How to Talk So the Kids Will Listen, How to Listen So that Kids Will Talk, that book. I got to that point with he was preteen then, and I was like, oh no, he's shutting me out. And people told me about this, and this ain't gonna happen here. And it was, imagine that. And so I tried all those methods and it kind of worked. Like I had once in a blue moon, like really good conversations, but it was like, but then this came up and we still have those moments where, and I think there's levels, like not levels, but like there's moments where kids just want to talk with that one parent or two parents, you know what I'm saying? They don't want to get their siblings involved, but there's also those moments where like, no, this is safe enough where we can share with everybody. So I think I've had those moments where my kids have all come to me at different times and told me that they need to check in. And they have those things that only I've known and I've saved with myself, like that sacred place where me, them, and God know about it. But you all, when that comes to that moment where they feel safe enough and it comes out for the first time in front of their brothers and they're not met with criticism, they're not met with the constant guy jokes and what all they do. They're met with like, just, okay, like now it's out and we can just be with it and sit with it. Wow, how is this impacting you? And then we can go, wow, how's this impacting the rest of the group? And they realize, wow, it wasn't that bad. Like I could have just shared this months ago, whatever, but it's just to hold that space and see how they've grown through that. And so, yeah, but I mean, I wish it was more, and they don't share everything and we still have our things. Trust me, we have our things, but it is nice, especially with the mom, knowing that I have boys that can come to me and tell me things.
Yeah.
And I can be with them and I'm not going to overreact normally. I do, but I try not to.
It's natural. Thank you. So after the first, so we were talking about connecting children and checking in and listening in church, and then how that your kids kind of facilitated that conversation. And it's been about 3 years now since implementing these rhythms. Is that correct?
Yeah, I have no idea. Sure. I was thinking about that today. I'm like, my time has been so lost in all of this. But yeah, I think it has been around that amount of time.
And are your small groups at church still checking in? And is that something that they're like, what does that look like on a normal Sunday or Wednesday whenever you guys meet?
Well, we meet on Sundays and there is no normal Sunday.
Okay.
I wish there was, but we just thrown that out the window at this point. And I'll be honest with you, when we started actually doing it, because I had this idea of rolling this out slowly and doing with my adult, and it happened just kind of like I did with my kids, where we were sitting across from each other and I was in the front trying to get the kids' attention, and there was only like a group of like 20, 25. It was a lower Sunday for us. And it was just like, you could just tell there was tension and nobody was talking about it. I'm like, you guys, I'm feeling like that. And I actually did a check-in in front of them. Wow. And they were just like, and like, everybody was just like, and I was like, would you guys like to practice this checking in? And we just made the whole lesson that, like, I'm sure there was a great lesson that day. I don't remember what it was, but the kids went back. And so they were all learning. The kids and adults were all learning at the same time. And that's when I realized the adults were like, nah, like they needed more practice with it. But my kids were like, let's go. And so with that being said, it's still going. In fact, what happened is that the kids went home and started slowly, not that day. It wasn't that day. It was like weeks later because we kept on doing it. We'd go home and say, hey, Mom, I need to check in. Yeah. And she's like, what? It's like, because I didn't think about actually sharing with the parents. I think I did briefly, but then they started coming to me like, what is checking in? My kids want to share with me. And I don't know, what is this? What is this? And so I had to sit down with them and explain it and do some videos if they couldn't come in and just different things. And then out of that became a church 101 and a leader team. And so we've got 2 or 3 now here in person, plus a student leader team. Wow. All because of this whole thing started. So it's gotten a lot bigger than I could have ever imagined, but it just starts from, I need to be real. And let's face it. No, and I don't, this is a secret sometimes, and I'm at church right now, but not all, but there are Sundays you don't want to be at church, you know? And it was finally safe to say that. And I, as a leader, could say that. Yeah. And because I could say that and check in is like, I don't want to be here. I'm feeling angry. I'm feeling sad. I'm feeling whatever. They could feel free to say that too. And we could all be together and Jesus could really come in and do what he told us he was going to do and meet with us right where we're at. Yeah. Sorry, that was too long.
No, not long at all. Okay. So you said at one point in there, you were like, this has gotten bigger than I ever could have imagined. Tell me a little bit more on the mental health spaces and where that is growing. Because if I'm not wrong, you've been coaching and implementing this with mental health professionals.
Yes.
How did that journey start, Bethany?
Yeah, this is insane. I'm just amazed. I love how God does this. So so really long story short with all this. I have been, in and out of counseling probably since college, maybe. I mean, just a lot of stuff going on in my life. And I met some really good counselors along the way and some not so good. And so I've always been amazed with the whole counseling community and those that were going through that process, and I just loved it. And I would study it for myself, and I can do alphabet soup almost with like different modalities and stuff. And I just was fascinated with the brain. And so when I met Luke, I was like, oh, my people, emotion and brain science. Yay! And so I was like, ah. And so anyway, it was this amazing connection. So with all this being said, I came into contact with Kurt Thompson, and he started doing confessional community. And I started doing some work with some confessional communities and realizing, all these groups, there were groups of like 8, maybe 10, and most of them were counselors. And they would look back at me and go, Bethany, we don't have any safe place to really connect and tell our story. And I'm going, we're 10. Come on. And some of them maybe not, they're not ready necessarily for all of that, but I would start meeting with them one-on-one and gradually get them to be able to be okay receiving again, because it's so easy to give. But when you're in the other seat and you really do want to just be with somebody, I'm amazed how many counselors were just like, we've never experienced this space where we can just be with another person and for you to see us. And so when I'm talking about doing mental health coaching, yes, I offer that. for some clients, but a lot of my group clients and a lot of my clients are actually counselors or professional coaches or mental health leaders. And they're just looking for that place to really be, but they're also looking for a way to have a church or two or have connections with somebody else so they don't burn out because they're doing so much. It's hard to continue to be filled up in what they're doing. And so it's really cool because I'm just like, I'm not a counselor, but I'm like, I will gladly be with you and I'm happy to be with you. And they're just amazed. They're just amazed because they're like, we're not too much. I'm like, no. And I just see all this coming together where I'm like, wow, God, like you're using all of my experience in and around the mental health community to not just be with them, which is all I wanted. And I was like, oh my goodness. And so it's just a blast. I love it. And just God's just doing it because I'm not doing a whole lot myself. God's literally just showing me and bringing me to the right people. And it's just really neat.
So God's just showing you what to do and bringing you to the right people. What does that mean? What does that look like in real life?
Yeah, I'm still trying to figure that out too. No, I'm not trying to figure it out. I'm trying to let it happen. There we go. I'm not trying to figure it out. But yeah, I mean, I think what it means is staying curious. And one thing it has taught me, because I was like, there is no way I can't work with a counselor community. I'm not a mental health professional. I mean, I know a lot, but I don't, God never asked us to know a lot. I mean, all of these relational connections, it comes through experiencing and then reflecting on what we experience, right? I think we don't always realize how much that practice can literally change someone's life, not only in that moment, but as you're going through your life and everything that you're experiencing. You may see a doctor, you may see a medical professional, you may see the clerk that's checking you out. Okay. And meaning checking out at the grocery store.
I got you. Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, pivot. Okay. And we're back. So whoever it is that you're in contact with, to have that curiosity going, right? You take that label away and you realize, wow, in front of me is a whole person with a left brain, a right brain, with emotions, with history, with so much thing. And they might get to invite me to just be with them. How cool is that? Like we get to do that and we have that relational connection. We get to do with that and we get to give them a gift. And it really is a gift to be seen by another human being that has the capacity to be with them in that moment. That's huge. So, yeah, that's all I'm doing. I mean, and who God brings my way, that's awesome. And I'm praying, okay, is this my person or is there another connection for them that's better? And I'm just taking the next best step because I don't have all this figured out, but I'm enjoying it.
Amazing. Creating spaces for people who might not have space to be seen.
Yeah. Ooh, I like the way you said that.
Okay. Take it. I think we're recording somewhere. So when did this curiosity piece come about for you? Have you always been curious, or is this a newer theme for Bethany?
Yeah. So I believe I've been curious ever since I was little.
Yeah.
However, I think it was shut down at such an early age that I haven't really been able to practice it, at least openly, because so much curiosity is like how it's received by people who may not have those emotion regulation skills or just the awareness of what's going on. If they're not able to get curious with you, it can be received as, oh, wow, like they just need me to be this person right now. Shut off the curiosity part. I'm just here to survive right now. And just do that. And so I was really great at surviving. But then, especially around the time I met Luke 10 and the process I was going through, the healing process I was going through myself, I realized, and this is probably how God, now that I'm thinking about it, and so I got to kind of orchestrate because I was in counseling at the time too, and really curious about mental health and going through a lot of trauma recovery and just a bunch of stuff. And here's Luke 10. So like tracking both of these things at the same time, and I'm seeing the parallel. And it was just amazing just to be able to do that. And so anyway, I don't remember the question anymore. I got stuck with that awakening inside of me. I'm like, wow, that's really cool how God did that. Anyway,
the curiosity. Oh, yeah. When did it come back to life? So it was squelched when you were younger, and then you started getting some healing, getting some learning and trauma recovery. And then it just woke up one day, or did you experience it first? What was?
I think honestly, it's been about like a lot of the, not that everybody's like this, but a lot of the thing that I was getting at the time was explaining, like a lot of left brain, this is how things work. And then Luke 10 was a whole brain, but a lot of us, right, like that relational connection. And I really, every time I came into a Luke 10 group, they were literally wanting to know how I was doing. And so it created me to go back. I'm like, okay, I'm learning this about mental health and I know how I'm doing, but how does that relate to this relationship right here? I can ask. So I was asking questions about myself and then I would see that in other people. So it was generally curiosity, like, so how is that for you? When you say you're excited, what does that feel like? And realizing not two people are the same, but we can learn from one another. And so it went from, I need to learn from everybody in order to be okay, to I can be okay and yet learn from other people, not to make myself better, but to just learn how God has created everyone so unique and amazing. You know what I'm saying? And from a healing standpoint. And so I really think it was that just correlation that I had at that part, doing both of this together and just realize like, it's just amazing. It was just amazing. And so, yeah, so it was gradually awakened, I think, in the last couple of years, and I haven't been shut down. In fact, everybody's just like, this is awesome.
Give me more. Yeah.
Yeah, more.
So was it that curiosity that led you to Kurt Thompson and talking with more of the mental health professionals?
It was a little bit. And it just realizing just all of my life journey and realizing it was okay to be in the mental health field. It was okay to want counseling and to be excited about like trauma recovery and just some of these really hard topics where everybody's like, why? And I'm like, because it's so amazing. And they're just like, yeah, okay. But once that was okay with that and to be curious with that, I got to meet like art professionals. I got to meet Bob Hamp and Think Differently Academy. I got to meet Kurt Thompson. I got to meet so many other, I'm probably missing a lot of people, but so many different other resources. And it wasn't me coming to go, I need to learn from you, which I did, but also it was the receipt of, can we be curious together? And it was amazing because it's just like, it changed everything. It went from, I don't need to know one more thing, but it's really forming relationships with these people and being able to be in my story, but also be in somebody else's story and come for them when they really need that and to have the skills to do that. And yeah, so all of that.
Amazing. All right. We're gonna take a few moments to look at the questions on if there are
There's
any
questions.
questions. I don't know if there are.
Okay.
I can't. Sometimes I can access the live stream, sometimes I cannot, but if there are questions, they will show up in the chat box or I think Instagram people are watching as well. So there might be.
Oh yeah, I'm getting some of the Instagram stuff.
I don't see any questions there, but if you do have
messages. Yeah.
Yes, please send them. The easiest way to send them is luke10.com/live. And I have the chat pulled up so we can see that there. And there is one message to you from Tony. Says, I love you, Bethany. Incredible that our kids get it before adults do.
Yes. So on. Yes. I love you, Tony.
Awesome.
Yeah. And that's another thing too. And I don't know if I can share that. I'm going to anyway. Because one of the cool things about Luke 10, what has been like those conferences that we've gotten to have and actually do get our kids together. Like that was the first time really, that was before our church started doing it. So it was just us and my kids. And I think it was that one conference where they really all got together that they're like, wow, like we were already doing it. I guess we were already doing it, but it made it more real for them, I guess. And so once they started creating, really getting to know those other kids, now they're texting and that almost gave my kids the confidence to like, because I don't think I could have done this. Now that I think about it, I could not have done this without them. And so, they started checking in with the other students and then they became student leaders themselves. And they kind of paved the way because our church hadn't done anything like this before. And so I think it's huge how Luke 10 is like, no, we're not just for the adults. We are for multi-generational. And I think it was really cool at one of the conferences that we had is that when we did some of these small group things, I think it was you and Tony actually that brought forth, hey, this is what the kids talked about. And this is what you just showed the kids. And I just remember everybody going, and I'm like, what? That's normal.
They're deep. Kids are deep.
Yes. And so it's just so cool to have that and to share that experience because they still talk about that. They're like, we're ready to go back and do that again. So, yeah.
Yeah. That was a crazy
Yeah.
conference. That was last year. We had a Luke 10 conference in Greenville, and then we had a kids conference as well. Kind of, it wasn't like separate, but
No.
in addition to. And we had how many kids total? 3, 4, 5, 6.
Yeah.
Well, 6, 7, 8, 8 kids total. 6
Yeah.
that were checking in and listening every day, and 2 that were getting loving from anyone and everyone that was during the conference.
Yes.
Tender spot in my heart for them.
And you were great with them, Hillary.
Thank you.
Yes, they still talk about Miss Hillary. I'm like, okay, well, Mom's going to do this while Miss Hillary could probably do it. I'm like, you guys. So I'm guessing you're gonna have to come visit Miss Hillary because my kids like love you. You know that already. They like Miss Tony too, but they like
all the love all around.
What was that?
I said all of the love all around.
There you go.
Yes. So we have about 15, 20 minutes left. We take just a breath and take a moment to listen. If there are any more questions, and then also just for everyone watching, let's see if I can get the right screen up here. We are this week that Luke 10 is going live. It is a fundraiser. We are doing, oh my goodness, where's my script? I like my notes and my notes are gone. Anyway, so we are able to provide these resources, Luke 10, and coordinate trainings and continue experimenting with church as secure attachment and with each other as secure attachment because of the generous donations, monthly donations that we get through Luke 10. And we would love to just spend some time listening on each of our calls to listen on, God, what's my next step for funding this revolution or for partaking or being part of Luke 10. So while we sit and listen on those questions as well, just as if the question that I love, is there anything else Hillary and Bethany should talk about? Is there anything else Hillary and Bethany need to know or I need to know right now? So what do you think? 2 minutes?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Great. I am just going to mute myself. That way we don't have a blank screen. I'll type in the chat what we're doing, and then I'll call us back in 2 minutes.
All right, that works.
right. Well, I had a hard time quieting. I don't know about you. I had a hard time quieting. But when I was just thinking about, what's next in funding the revolution or just funding in Luke 10 in general, I was flooded with memories of Orlando.
Right.
And of when Zach, Tony, and myself and a few others flew down to Orlando to give a pitch
Yes.
to get funding. And, we didn't get funding, but what we got and what we experienced was so much better than money. I think I'm going to say that live on recording too.
Yeah.
Was just a deeper knowing of you, your boys, the Hoffmans, Zach and his son, and Shannon, and it was so joy filled, that it was worth it.
Yes.
Stepping out and trying and doing our best, and then also just fully engaging and loving on everyone there was so heartwarming.
Yeah. And it invited us, because I took the kids out of school for a couple days, and they just, it was such a refilling time for everybody to just come. And I just remember this one time, we ran out just to get food. We're all sitting on the beach. Oh yeah, it was my youngest birthday. And he looked over at me because he was trying to figure out what time he was actually born. And I was that moment, oh man, so I'm trying to look. And it was right as we were eating, I'm I told him, I said, Matt, you are officially 10 or whatever. Yeah, he's 10 now. That is and he's like, Mom, he's like, I wouldn't want it any other way. He's like, this is the best moment. And he wasn't getting any fancy gifts. He wasn't having this huge birthday party. He was just there with his Luke 10 family on the beach, eating a burger, which he thought was the biggest burger ever. But you know what I'm saying? I think so many times, I have this idea in my head, my kids need Disney, they need all these fancy, and they don't. They just really need these key relationships where they can come as they are and yet grow with other people too.
Yeah.
And be within arm's reach, right, of these people, and give them a hug and know that okay, they're real, this is real. And yeah, I'll never forget that and have you guys there. And you guys kept on celebrating him, which he remembers that too.
Of course.
Yes. So yeah.
So that's what came up in my listening. So I was just enjoying our beach trip with you guys.
I like that. That's good. Yeah. The one thing that just came up as I was listening, wasn't really I don't know. I guess it's more of a thought, maybe. Is that I think so many times when we hear relational revolution, sometimes we think we have to do this big grandiose thing, and maybe it goes back to what I just shared inadvertently. That wasn't purposely done, but just think we have to do all of the stuff, and really it's just kind of like the story. You just take the next best step, okay, God, how are you moving right now? And instead of me having to make the waves, just follow the waves that he's already making. You know what I'm saying? And so all of our parts look different. All of our parts are going to look different. So it really is. And that takes curiosity, right? Because you can't already define how things are going to look. You have to be curious about what God's doing. And all of that's relational. All of that's relational. It's relational stuff with yourself, your relation to God, relation to others. And so it's just okay, what is which we asked this a lot in Luke 10 too. Okay, what is my next best step right now? Not everybody, what is my next best step? And so, so that's what came to mind. Just that one little next best step, not solving everything.
Yeah. So Tony just finished interviewing Kent, and he mentioned something similar that it's not, thinking about oh, well, how would Jesus do this? How would this be done? It's just, what are you doing? What are you up to? What can we see? What can we be curious about? And just to hear you repeat that in your own words, it's awesome. It's so exciting and thrilling. It's there's a theme. As you were talking, I was also connecting points of the very first live session we had today, which was the facilitators gathering and holding tensions. And the tensions of children in the church.
Oh my goodness.
Do we have them? Do we separate? Do children, no children? Are they important? Are they not important? For so long, they've been so polarized. And the mental health world, even like that's something that's not as taboo anymore, but it was for me growing up. I'm assuming for you as well, that you don't talk about it. You don't have problems there. Only this kind of person goes to therapy. And just creating that curiosity to be in between and to
and a whole both and right. And I think there's like when you do, it is work to learn how to be in that space with other people, right? And not fix. Oh my goodness, sorry. That takes experience. Sorry. We talk about that a lot, like don't fix. And if you're like, they get it, but it's really like when you're experiencing that with other people, you're like, oh, you know what I'm saying? And really reflecting on that. So I'm going to get off of that one. Anyway, kind of what you were holding is holding that tension and holding it well, but also keeping your curious, because you can't be curious. You can't not be curious and yet hold tension well. Like, I don't understand how that's possible, because if you're not curious, you've already solved it. So either the tension's non-existent for you, which is a whole nother thing to get curious about, or you're just ignoring it all, where you're shoving it down. You're not really solving it. So I think so many people out there, and me included, until Luke 10, I had not been able to hold tension well with anybody because I'd never seen it resolve well. And I was scared because in my mind, I knew where this road went and I'm not doing it. And it was great because I actually had a conversation with somebody the other day. I'm like, I'm ready to hold tension to see how this works, to see what happens. And Luke 10 does it so well. And I wish more people could experience that. And so,
Thank you. The other tension on curiosity was the tension of absolute certainty and curiosity. I love that we're bringing in the curious piece. It's gorgeous. And your story. Thank you so much for sharing just a little bit about your journey. I can't wait to see what your next step is and where you go.
You never know, right? And it's great because Luke 10, we always take steps, but we're never alone. Right? Yeah, it's good because I've seen you got to take steps too. So all this and getting to know your story better. And I think that's really cool because when you get to really be part of a relational revolution, you really do not feel alone. Like I've got people literally all over the world now. You know what I'm saying? That I am not just like surface level, that I'm deep. And I just love that.
It's almost like taking the time to connect and be curious with people builds and fosters a relationship. Imagine that.
Roll right off the tongue. I mean, that was great.
I'm just repeating back what you're saying. Anyway.
Oh, man. I love it.
So up next is another segment of Living the Revolution, implementing the rhythms in a church planting movement with Ryan Patterson and Tony Daniels. And then an hour after that, it's going to be implementing the rhythms of attention with Colleen Caskey and her staff at InterVarsity, and what that was like for her, how she started, and how it is now, and kind of how that impacted not only her team, but all the teams that she oversees.
That is going to be amazing. I wish I could just watch all of it. I'm going to try, but isn't it cool though to just sit and watch? And I know even like us Luke tenors enjoy these moments because we already know, you know what I'm saying? But to actually watch the person as they get curious with other people again and get to hear their story again, because it's just like we've experienced it, but then you get to see the impact and you get to see how God is currently moving. I love that. I love being able to do that, be with them in that way. So,
oh, thank you. That's exciting. Yeah. Do we want to do a little closing round?
Of course, you can't not do a closing round, right? Is that a thing?
I mean, I don't think we can not do one. So I'm down.
Can't not do it. I love that.
I think that's enough nods. Anyway, um,
Love it.
my closing, what I'm taking away, what I observed, what I noticed.
Mhm.
I love spending time with you. I love hearing about what's happening in your life, and just the joy coming off the screen is electric. I can feel it. And yeah, and whenever we get together, it's always good times. There's always lots of laughs.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, do you remember the first time that we were like actually like to get like we actually got to know each other? Do you remember
I
that?
think so. I think so. It was wild, y'all. It was intense. Both of our ADD was going off the charts that day. We kept going off on tangent and tangent.
Yeah, it was so good. It was so good. But oh my goodness. Okay. Well, now you're gonna have them like curious. But anyway. But yeah, nothing like riding in a truck with Hillary. I remember that. That too. Yes. Yeah, I feel this way with so many. I feel so close connected with so many, like for you, I'm like, let's go. Like there's other things that I feel like I have to get on Zoom for because I'm zooming so much now, which is great. Because I have vision loss and hearing loss. So Zoom literally is one of the best ways I know how to connect with people. You know what I'm saying? But there's still some prep work that comes in. And I know I had to turn on my relational, so like I know I had to be relationally available, but I was like, this is so easy. You know what I'm saying? When you're with people like you that practice this, and we have history, and we've seen each other when we're like, you know, we're calm, cool, and collected, and we've seen each other, like you said, when ADD is like bouncing off the wall, and we really have been. It's not just a saying. We really have been glad to be with one another no matter what. It's not just something that we're just shooting out there. It really is like, no, you don't understand. Like we've seen each other spazzed out and confused and just everything. And yet we still really enjoyed, like we think back about that moment, and we can come back to the joy that was radiating in our bodies in those moments. As crazy it could be, we got to experience Jesus in that moment when we were together. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And so I didn't have to prepare. I'm like, I'm just going to be with my friend and my family. I feel like we're family. Like we're just going to hang out, and people get to come into that. So if there's anybody out there watching, like, is this real? Yeah. It's real.
Yeah.
It's real.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. And you got to get to know Hillary. She's amazing. I'm just saying.
All right. I've never ended a live before. I mean, other than last year. I think our next thing happens at 3 Eastern, 2 Central. Let me double check on that time. 3. Oh no, it's 3 Central, 4. No. Oh. No. I'm reading it wrong. I was right the first time. 2 Central with Ryan Patterson and implementing the rhythms of attention in a church planting movement. So that is at 3 Eastern time. Awesome. So I am going to end our live, and we'll just appear back on everywhere, on luke10live.com, on YouTube, on Facebook, on Instagram in like a half an hour. Yay. Awesome. Thanks again.
You're welcome. Bye, everybody. Bye, Hillary.